I want you to try and imagine something with me. And I mean, really put yourself into the physical reality of this situation.
Right. Ground yourself in it.
Yeah, exactly. So you wake up, and the very first thing your brain registers is just agonizing, blinding pain.
Ooh.
It's not just like a headache, It feels like it's in your marrow, like it's in the actual cellular structure of your body.
Right. A total system shock.
Yeah. So you open your eyes, and the light hitting your retinas is harsh. It's sterile, completely unforgiving. And you're in a room you just do not recognize at all.
Which immediately triggers panic, I'd imagine.
Oh, absolutely. And as your vision starts to agonizingly clear, you realize there are these robotic medical arms hovering over you.
Wow.
And they're moving with this cold mechanical precision, literally tending to your body. But your mind is just a total absolute void.
Just a blank slate.
Completely. You don't know where you are. You don't know how you got there. You don't even know your own name.
I mean, it is the ultimate nightmare scenario from a neurological and psychological standpoint.
Right.
It's total sensory disorientation combined with a complete and utter loss of identity. You are entirely untethered from reality.
Yeah.
Just floating in a cognitive vacuum.
Exactly. Completely untethered. But the thing is, it gets so much worse.
Oh, yeah. Because of what he sees next.
Because as you manage to turn your head, fighting through this incredible fog and this bone-deep pain, you look over and you see two human bodies.
Yeah.
And they are perfectly still. They are lifeless.
Just dead.
Yeah. And you stare at them, waiting for that shock of recognition, right? Waiting for your brain to tell you who they are, but there's just nothing.
Just zero context.
Absolutely none. You have no idea who these people are. You don't know if they were like your friends, your family, maybe your captors. You just know that they are dead, you are alive, and you are utterly, unspeakably alone.
It's just a profoundly terrifying image. And it perfectly sets the stage for the psychological labyrinth we are entering today.
It really does.
Because we are looking at a scenario that strips a human being down to their absolute base components of survival and observation.
So welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are taking you into a narrative of absolute, crushing desperation, but also, paradoxically, this incredible, almost defiant hope.
Right.
We are exploring the events that chronicle part 2 of the Project Hail Mary story. And let me make the vibe of this deep dive perfectly clear right from the jump,
Yeah, we need to set the tone here.
For sure,
Yeah,
because this isn't just a sterile breakdown of orbital mechanics and spaceship schematics. This is a psychological thriller, and it is wrapped in the most intense cosmic mystery you could possibly imagine.
And what's truly fascinating here is that we are looking at a scenario that pushes the boundaries of everything we understand about human endurance.
Right.
Like, this isn't just a story about technology or space travel. It is a fundamental examination of what a human mind does when placed inside a pressure cooker of literally apocalyptic proportions.
Okay, so let's unpack this and set the stakes for you, the listener, because the stakes literally could not be higher. If you joined us for our previous exploration of part 1, you know the existential dread hanging over this entire situation.
Yeah, it's grim.
It's beyond grim. We're looking at a universe where our sun, the star that gives us light, warmth, the foundational energy for all life on Earth, it is being eaten.
Right. And eaten is the right word, but it's important to understand the mechanism because it's not, a giant space monster.
Right. It's not a sci-fi laser beam.
No, it's an alien microorganism called Astrophage, and it is fundamentally altering the energy output of our solar system.
Right. And this is where the science gets incredibly dark. The sun is losing energy, and the direct result for Earth, global cooling.
Yeah.
And we aren't talking about a few chilly winters. We are talking about the complete collapse of the global food chain. Entire ecosystems dying off.
Massive, unavoidable thing.
Exactly. It is a slow, agonizing, mathematically certain march toward human extinction.
Because it's not a sudden Hollywood explosion, right? It's a quiet, creeping death for our entire civilization.
Just a slow fade to black.
Yeah. Astrophage is reproducing at an exponential rate, absorbing the sun's energy specifically in the visible light spectrum and radiating it away as infrared.
Which we can't use for photosynthesis.
Exactly. That's why the sun is dimming. It's a cosmic scale ecological disaster.
But within that impending doom, there is this one tiny, fragile thread of hope. Scientists found a clue. They discovered that one specific star, out in the vast, incredibly hostile emptiness of space, Tau Ceti, appears to be completely immune to this Astrophage plague.
And we should clarify how they even know this, because it's just a brilliant piece of deductive reasoning.
Oh yeah, walk us through that, because it's so clever.
So astronomers noticed that every single star in our local stellar neighborhood was infected. They were all dimming.
It's like a plague spreading.
Exactly like that.
Yeah.
But there was this faint, incredibly specific line of infrared light, the byproduct of astrophage migration, pointing directly from our sun to Tau Ceti.
Like a superhighway.
A literal highway of alien bugs. Yet, Tau Ceti's light output hadn't dropped a fraction of a percent. It was the only immune star in the entire infected zone.
Tau Ceti. One immune star. That's it. That is the entire basis for humanity's survival plan.
Talk about putting all your eggs in one basket.
Right. Somewhere near that distant sun is the answer. And today, we're going to explore the mission built to go get that answer. Which brings us to our first major area of exploration, the ultimate gamble. Engineering humanity's last hope.
Right, and the spacecraft they built for this impossible task is called the Hail Mary, and it is fundamentally different from any human spaceflight that came before it.
Let's really put this into perspective for everyone listening. Every single mission we've ever launched, the Apollo missions to the moon, the rover sent to Mars, the Voyager probes exploring the outer planets, they all stayed within our cosmic neighborhood.
Yeah, and the term cosmic neighborhood is crucial here for scale.
Yeah.
In astronomical terms, the moon is just across the street. Mars is a quick drive to the next town over. Even Pluto is just the edge of our own state.
A long road trip, but still on the same continent.
Exactly. But the Hail Mary was constructed to go to another star entirely. Tau Ceti is nearly 12 light years away.
Which is just, it's an unfathomable distance.
The sheer scale of that leap cannot be overstated. It represents a technological chasm that humanity had to cross, not in centuries of careful research, but in decades, out of pure, unadulterated desperation.
Let's really look at the zero margin for error reality of this.
Yeah.
We're talking about a one-way trip into the dark.
Yeah.
There is no mission control waiting on standby to help you troubleshoot a blown fuse.
No, think about the famous Apollo 13 mission. Houston, we have a problem.
Right, they had a whole room of geniuses working on it.
They had hundreds of the brightest minds on Earth working around the clock to bring them home. The crew of the Hail Mary does not have a Houston.
Because of the distance, right.
Yeah, because of the sheer distance. Even if they could send a radio message, it would take over a decade just to reach Earth, and another decade to get a reply.
So it's basically a 24-year customer service hold.
Exactly. They are completely, utterly isolated in deep space. There are no rescue ships. There is no turning back.
It's terrifying. If life support glitches, you're dead. If the navigation system miscalculates by a fraction of a degree, you miss the star system entirely, you shoot off into the void forever, and humanity dies.
And if the engines fail, you drift,
Yeah.
and humanity dies.
Yeah, every single system on that ship has to work flawlessly for years.
Okay, let's unpack this with an analogy, because I want to really emphasize the mechanics of it. It's like building a submarine from scratch to cross the deepest, most unexplored, highest pressure part of the Mariana Trench.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Right. But it's not just about the pressure holding. It's about the fact that this submarine has to manufacture its own breathable air, recycle its own water perfectly, and navigate blindly for years.
And with zero pit stops. Exactly. And you know that if a single tiny carbon scrubber valve vibrates loose in year 3 of the journey, not only does the submarine crew slowly suffocate, but the entire human race on the surface goes extinct.
Wow.
The mechanical pressure on the engineers building this ship is just unfathomable.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize the mechanical dread of the mission.
Thanks.
Because the psychological burden on the engineers who welded those seams, who coded the life support software, it must have been crushing. Every calculation they made was weighted with the survival of billions of people.
I can't even imagine that kind of stress.
But what's even more fascinating here is the sheer irony of how they actually managed to power this vessel. This is perhaps one of the most compelling paradoxes in the entire narrative.
Yes, the Astrophage paradox. This is
Yeah.
where it gets really interesting and where I need you to break down the physics for me.
Sure.
Because the Hail Mary is powered by astrophage fuel. Astrophage is the exact same alien microorganism that is currently draining our sun, causing global cooling and threatening to wipe out every living thing on Earth.
Yep. Humanity looked at the executioner's axe and decided to use it as the engine for their getaway car.
It is a masterclass in human ingenuity driven by absolute catastrophe. We are using the very mechanism of our destruction as our only means of salvation.
It's so poetic, but also terrifying.
Extremely. But to understand why, we have to look at what Astrophage actually does. It possesses energy storage capabilities that completely defy our traditional earthbound understanding of biology.
Right, because it's not burning like coal or rocket fuel, right?
Not at all. Astrophage operates on a scale of mass-to-light conversion. It absorbs energy and literally stores it by altering its own mass, utilizing Einstein's famous equation E=mc².
Okay, so it literally turns energy into physical mass.
Yes. It is essentially a microscopic, perfectly efficient battery that stores energy as mass and releases it as pure light, specifically incredibly intense infrared light.
Okay, wait, let me make sure I'm wrapping my head around this. So instead of a massive rocket booster burning millions of gallons of liquid hydrogen and oxygen, they are just using these tiny alien bugs. Precisely. They engineered what they call spin drives. These drives take enriched astrophage and force it to release that stored energy all at once.
And then what happens?
The result is a beam of pure light. And because of the fundamental laws of physics, if you shoot a massive amount of light out the back of a ship, the ship goes forward. It is a photon rocket.
That is insane.
The energy density is so absurdly high that a few thousand kilograms of astrophage can accelerate a massive ship to near the speed of light.
So imagine a single grain of sand holding the explosive propulsion power of a nuclear warhead.
That's a very accurate way to think about it.
That's what we were talking about. They harness the apocalypse to power a spaceship. But as incredible as the Hail Mary is, a flawless, miraculously powered ship is absolutely useless without a flawless crew to fly it.
Exactly.
Which leads us to a really dark question. How do you recruit people to willingly step into what is, essentially, a highly advanced flying tomb?
And this brings us to the psychological profile required for the mission. And the selection process was incredibly chilling. They didn't just need brilliant scientists and capable engineers, they needed emotional fortresses.
Emotional fortresses. I like that phrase. Let's talk about the weight of that sacrifice, because when you actually break down the mission parameters, they are laid out in stark, devastating terms.
You really are.
The mission requirements were brutal. Anyone selected for the Hail Mary would never see Earth again. I want you to really think about what that means.
It's a heavy concept.
You will never feel rain on your skin again. You will never look up and see an open blue sky. You will never watch a sunset. You will never ever see your families again. You are volunteering to become a ghost while you're still breathing.
It is an almost impossible ask. The psychological toll of knowing you are leaving the biosphere forever, leaving behind every sensory experience that defines human existence.
The smell of grass, right?
Yeah, the smell of grass, the sound of birds, the feeling of wind. You are trading all of that for the sterile, recycled air of a metal tube in the endless vacuum of space.
It's horrifying.
It is. The selection process demanded a level of commitment and a willingness to sacrifice that defies normal human psychology.
Now, people volunteered for different reasons. Of course, duty, hope, a belief that history was calling them. But then we are introduced to our protagonist, Ryland Grace.
Ah, yeah.
And here is the thing about Ryland Grace. He is not your typical square-jawed, fearless space hero. He's a scientist. He's a junior high school teacher. He explicitly does not view himself as an explorer or the savior of humanity.
And that distinction is vital. He sees himself as an educator. He likes explaining things to kids. He likes the safety of his laboratory and his classroom.
He's a very grounded, normal guy.
Exactly. He lacks the traditional bravado and the stoic, unbreakable discipline we usually associate with military astronauts.
But wait, here's where I have to push back a little on the logic here.
Okay, lay it on me.
If the literal fate of humanity is on the line, right? If billions of lives depend on this one single ship making it to Tau Ceti, why on earth are we trusting a reluctant middle school science teacher?
It sounds absurd on paper.
It really does. Shouldn't we be sending the most hardened, psychologically unbreakable, rigorously trained military astronauts on the planet? People who have been trained to handle zero-G, isolation, and high-stress combat environments.
You think so?
Right. Why let a self-proclaimed non-hero anywhere near the absolute center of this crisis? It seems incredibly risky to put a guy who grades spelling tests in charge of saving the world.
This raises an excellent point, and it highlights the friction between military doctrine and scientific necessity. You're right, under normal circumstances, Ryland Grace wouldn't even be allowed in the building at NASA.
Not even the lobby.
Exactly. But history rarely waits for the perfect hero. Ryland Grace wasn't chosen because he had the right stuff in a traditional military sense.
So why him?
He was drawn into the center of this crisis because of his deep, specialized and incredibly unique knowledge of astrophage.
Right, because he was the one who figured out how it reproduces, didn't he?
Exactly. Before he was a teacher, he was an academic whose theories on alien biology were ridiculed. They basically drove him out of academia.
But then those exact theories became the key.
Precisely. Those theories made him the only person on Earth capable of understanding astrophage. He had a fundamental understanding of the science that literally no one else possessed.
Wow.
And he was slowly, almost inevitably, pulled into the gravitational center of the mission under the relentless direction of Eva Strat.
Ah, Eva Strat.
Yes, the enigmatic, absolute authority official running the project.
Strat is terrifying in her own way. She just steamrolls every international law and military protocol because she has to.
She has absolute impunity.
Yeah. So it wasn't about finding the perfect, emotionally stable astronaut. It was about finding the specific brain that could understand the alien biology at play at Tau Ceti. Yeah. He was drafted by necessity.
Precisely. His presence on the mission isn't a testament to his bravery. It's a testament to his irreplaceable expertise. He is the right tool for an impossible job, even if he actively tried to run away from that job in the first place.
Which he did. He did not want to go.
Not at all. Strat essentially forces him onto the ship because the primary science specialist died in a freak accident right before launch. It's an act of utter desperation.
Okay, so you have this immense preparation, you have the scientific rigor, you have this miraculous astrophage-powered ship, you have a crew selected for their unbreakable emotional resilience, except for Grace, who was just terrified.
Right.
But the true horror of this narrative is that all of that preparation immediately falls apart the exact moment the mission actually begins for Ryland Grace. Which brings us back to where we started, the nightmare awakening.
We return to the amnesia and the abyss.
Grace wakes up. No memories. He doesn't remember the dying sun. He doesn't remember the astrophage eating the solar system. He doesn't remember being drafted for this mission.
He doesn't even remember his own name.
His brain is sluggish, his body is incredibly weak, and he is terrified. And then he realizes his two crewmates are dead.
Let's analyze what his mind is doing here, because
Right.
the science of his amnesia is fascinating.
Yeah, break that down for us. Why is he like this?
Well, to survive the immense crushing G-forces of accelerating to near the speed of light and doing it for years, the crew had to be put into an induced medical coma.
Right, because otherwise a sustained acceleration would just turn their organs to mush.
Exactly. The human body is not built to withstand that kind of sustained force, so they used a specific, highly experimental drug to induce this deep hibernation. But a known side effect of this incredibly risky procedure is profound neurological fragmentation.
Neurological fragmentation, what does that actually look like in the brain?
The brain's pathways for accessing memory are temporarily disrupted. It's often referred to colloquially in the medical field of the story as coma slop.
Coma slop. Gross, but descriptive.
Right. The memories are there, but the indexing system to retrieve them is completely broken. Imagine your computer's hard drive has all your files, but the search function is totally offline and all the folders are unnamed.
That's a great analogy. You know the data exists, but you can't reach it.
Exactly.
And so he is completely, utterly alone in an endless ocean of dark vacuum. The people who were supposed to share this burden, the military commander and the engineer who were supposed to help him survive and solve the mystery of Tau Ceti, are just gone.
They died in their sleep.
Because their comepods malfunctioned. The isolation is absolute.
The psychological weight of this specific moment is staggering. I mean, if you or I forget where we put our keys, it's frustrating.
Yeah. Ruins my whole morning.
Right. But if you wake up and forget your entire life while staring at two desiccated corpses in a high-tech metal tube, the level of panic should induce an immediate psychological break.
I try to imagine the physical claustrophobia of that realization. You are in a metal box. The silence outside that hall isn't just quiet, it's a lethal, endless nothingness.
It's the vacuum of space pressing in on you.
Right. Every creak of the metal is a reminder of the void outside. And the only thing worse than not knowing who you are is the agonizing process of slowly remembering. It's described so viscerally, like puzzle pieces slowly sliding together in the dark.
Yes, it's a terrifying cognitive reconstruction. As sensory inputs trigger neurological pathways, flashes of his past return.
Think about how your own memory works. You smell something, and suddenly you remember your grandmother's kitchen, right?
The Prostgen effect, exactly.
Yeah. For Grace, he sees an experiment tube, and he remembers a classroom. Then he remembers scientific discussions. He remembers government meetings. He remembers the name Eva Strat. He remembers the word astrophage. He remembers Tau Ceti.
The pieces click into place.
And with every single recovered memory, the panic must just skyrocket. Because he's not just remembering his name. He is slowly remembering that he is carrying the death warrant of billions of people on his shoulders.
And he is the only one left alive to stop it.
Right. What a terrible thing to wake up to.
What's fascinating here is the brilliant juxtaposition achieved in this scenario. On one hand, you have these macro-level cosmic stakes.
The extinction of planet Earth.
The literal extinction of planet Earth, the death of billions, the dimming of the sun. It's an issue of orbital mechanics and stellar astrophysics. But perfectly balanced against that, you have this micro-level, intensely intimate horror.
Just one guy in a room.
One frail, confused man sitting in a sterile room trying to remember his own name while trying to figure out how to dispose of the corpses of his friends so they don't rot and contaminate the air supply.
Wow, yeah. The logistics of survival.
Exactly. The cosmic and the personal are slammed together in this one fragile human mind.
It's the ultimate locked room mystery. But the locked room is hurtling through interstellar space at a fraction of the speed of light.
Beautifully put.
But as his memory finally locks into place, the panic has to subside. He doesn't have the luxury of curling up into a ball and losing his mind.
Right.
The victim of this horrific awakening must become the investigator. He realizes by looking at the navigation computers that he is already at Tau Ceti. The ship worked. Humanity's last hope actually arrived at its destination.
And so begins what we can call the cosmic detective story.
I love that.
He transitions from a state of shock into a state of methodical action. The mission parameters return to him. Observe the star, find out why it's immune to the astrophage plague, and send that data back to Earth via a series of small, unmanned probe ships.
Right, but I want to make it clear that this is an incredibly frustrating, almost impossible task. It's not like he just looks out the window, sees a giant neon sign explaining the immunity, and types up a quick email to Earth.
No, absolutely not.
Let's break down the actual lonely routine of his days for a second. It's experiments, it's endless data analysis, it's searching for tiny, microscopic patterns in local conditions.
It is the grueling, unglamorous reality of the scientific method.
It's a lot of waiting and measuring.
He is looking for a needle in a haystack, but the haystack is an entire solar system. He has to use spectrometers to analyze the light coming from Tau Ceti. He has to launch probes to gather dust samples. He has to culture astrophage in the lab to see how it reacts to the local environment.
So what does this all mean? He's basically the ultimate cold case detective. But the crime scene isn't an alleyway, it's an entire star system.
Right.
The murder weapon isn't a gun, it's an alien microorganism that eats light. And the victim isn't a person, it is his entire home planet. 12 light years away, slowly freezing to death.
That is an incredibly apt way to frame it. And this is where we see exactly why Ryland Grace, the reluctant junior high teacher, the nerdy scientist, was actually the perfect person for this scenario.
Oh, interesting. Why is that?
Because if you placed a purely action-oriented military astronaut in this situation, someone trained for immediate tactical responses, the absolute isolation and the sheer boredom of data analysis might break them.
They need a crisis to respond to, not a spreadsheet.
Exactly. But Grace relies on the one thing that has always anchored him: logic.
He clings to the scientific method like a life raft.
Exactly. He applies the scientific method to stave off the existential dread. He creates a rigid routine of observation, hypothesis, and testing. It is a psychological defense mechanism as much as it is a mission requirement.
He needs the structure.
He isn't weeping in a corner because his mind is entirely occupied with calibrating the Petrova line sensors and managing the ship's atmospheric pressure.
He's literally sciencing the panic away. I love that. It makes him so relatable. When we get stressed, we organize our closets or deep clean the kitchen. Grace gets stressed and he calibrates a mass spectrometer.
Exactly. It's a coping mechanism.
But just as this crushing isolation and this incredibly tedious scientific routine becomes his accepted reality, he gets a piece of data.
Ah, yes.
And this data reveals something that shatters everything humanity thought it knew about the universe. We are entering the territory of the impossible blip.
This is the turning point, not just of the mission, but of human history as we understand it. It is the moment the paradigm completely shifts.
So Grace is doing his routine. He's staring at the radar screens, looking for clues about Tau Ceti's planetary bodies, trying to figure out where he needs to pilot the Hail Mary to get a better look at the local environment. And he spots an anomaly.
A blip on the screen.
A blip, a signal, an object on the radar. And his very first instinct is to completely dismiss it. He assumes it has to be sensor interference or maybe some piece of his own equipment that broke off during the long journey.
Which is rational.
Because it has to be, right?
Yeah.
Humanity only launched one ship. The Hail Mary is the only thing out there.
It's a classic scientific response to anomalous data. You assume instrument error or a mundane explanation before you leap to a paradigm-shifting discovery.
You don't immediately jump to aliens.
Exactly. But the evidence continues to grow stronger. The object isn't moving like debris. It's correcting its course. It's matching its velocity.
He checks the data again and again. He switches from radar to LiDAR to visual cameras. The creeping realization sets in. And I want you to imagine the goosebumps on his arms in this moment.
The object is a ship.
It's not a glitch. It's a second ship. And looking at the sheer design of it, looking at the materials and the propulsion signature, it is blatantly obvious that it is not from Earth.
Imagine the emotional whiplash of that precise moment.
I can't even.
For his entire life and for centuries of human history, the question of intelligent life in the universe has been a philosophical debate. Are we alone? Are we a fluke of biological evolution?
Are we the only ones?
Exactly. And suddenly, in the most desperate, isolated moment of his life, sitting completely alone, trillions of miles from a dying Earth, that centuries-old question is definitively answered.
He experiences this massive cocktail of emotions: absolute shock, disbelief, awe, and then raw scientific excitement. But wait, hold on. Let me push back on this for a second.
Okay.
Because we as a culture always romanticize first contact. We think of it as this glorious, awe-inspiring moment of cosmic brotherhood. But put yourself in his shoes.
Okay.
He is completely alone. He is deeply traumatized. He woke up next to dead bodies. He is desperate and far from home. Shouldn't his very first overwhelming instinct be absolute paralyzing terror?
You'd think fight or flight would kick in.
Right. Think about it. If there's another ship out here, an incredibly advanced alien ship, how does he know they aren't the ones who unleashed the astrophage in the first place? What if they're the enemy? What if this is a biological weapon and the creators just showed up to check on their work?
This raises a very valid point, and it's a testament to the tension of the scene. Fear is absolutely a component of his initial reaction. We are biologically hardwired to fear the unknown.
Especially in a dark alley, and space is the biggest dark alley there is.
Exactly. However, if we break down the logic of the situation, which is exactly what Grace does, the profound implications of this discovery quickly override that primal fear.
Okay, walk me through his logic. How does he talk himself down from the panic?
Think about the astrophysics of the situation. He is at Tau Ceti because it is the single solitary star in the entire local sector that is immune to astrophage.
Right, the one safe harbor.
Exactly. If another ship, an alien ship, has traveled interstellar distances to also arrive at Tau Ceti, the statistical probability is astronomical that they are here for the exact same reason.
Oh, wow. Okay, I see where you're going with this.
They aren't the attackers. They are victims, too.
That makes perfect sense.
It shifts the entire narrative paradigm in a profound way. It goes from being a solitary human tragedy to a shared cosmic disaster.
Mutual problem.
That alien ship implies that another civilization on another planet orbiting another star has discovered astrophage. It implies that their star is also dimming, their planet is also dying, and that they, too, launched a desperate, zero-margin-for-error mission to find the cure.
They are suffering from the exact same plague.
And that realization logically bridges the gap between fear and profound empathy.
It's not a predator waiting in the dark. It's another stranded survivor on a lifeboat. So Grace has a choice to make. He can turn off his sensors, engage the spin drives, hide in the dark, and hope they don't see him. Or he can reach out. And he chooses to reach out. Which brings us to a really fascinating part of the narrative, the anti-trope of first contact.
This is where the story brilliantly subverts our science fiction expectations. It strips away the melodrama and focuses on the incredible, grueling reality of trying to communicate with something truly alien.
Yeah, let's talk about that. The two ships draw closer to each other. Grace finally gets a visual on the alien vessel. And it's different in every conceivable way. It doesn't look like human engineering.
No NASA logos here.
Right. There are no smooth white panels. It's a massive, blocky, heavily armored polyhedron. The design principles, the assumptions about physics and construction, they're completely foreign.
But it is undeniably the product of an intelligent, rational mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But contrast this with typical Hollywood first contact.
Oh, it's night and day. When we think of first contact in popular media, it's usually defined by aggression or overwhelming superiority.
Explosions, usually.
Right. We see massive invasion fleets blotting out the sky, like in Independence Day. We see laser cannons charging up. We see planetary conquerors arriving to strip mine Earth or enslave humanity. It's almost always framed as a violent conflict.
It's always a fight for survival against a superior monster with fangs and plasma rifles. But this story completely flips that script. Because eventually, the two ships physically connect. They build a literal tunnel between them.
A bridge.
Yeah, and it reveals who is actually waiting inside that alien ship. It's not a monster. It is an engineer.
An engineer,
Yeah.
a problem solver, a being who crossed the dark void of space to save their own dying world.
They have so much in common.
The shared identity here is not based on biology, but on purpose. They are both scientists on a desperate mission of salvation.
But the reality of that connection is staggeringly difficult. Because wanting to cooperate is not the same as being able to cooperate. They have an imminent, seemingly insurmountable challenge.
Communication.
They do not share a biology. The alien breathes superheated ammonia. Grace breathes oxygen. If their atmospheres mix, they both die.
Right.
They don't share a culture. They obviously don't share a language. They don't even share the same sensory experience of the universe. The alien doesn't even have eyes. It sees using sonar like a bat because its home planet's atmosphere is completely opaque.
That physical disconnect is crucial. I mean, how do you even say hello to something that doesn't perceive reality the same way you do?
You can't just wave at it.
No. If you wave your hand, it doesn't see it. If you smile, it doesn't understand the facial cue. You're completely stripped of every human method of communication.
So what do? How do you build a bridge across that kind of biological and sensory void?
This is where the narrative becomes a beautiful celebration of universal truths. How do you build a bridge between two completely alien minds? You use the only tools that remain constant, regardless of where you are in the universe.
Sure.
Mathematics, physics, and chemistry.
Okay, give me an example of how that works in practice. Because it's not like they can just point at a rock and say, rock.
Right. They have to start with the absolute fundamentals of reality. A prime number is a prime number, whether you are on Earth or on a planet orbiting the star 40 Eridani.
That doesn't change.
2 + 2 = 4 everywhere in the cosmos. So they start with math. The alien taps on the dividing wall. 1 tap, 2 taps, 3 taps. Grace taps back. They establish a shared understanding of numbers.
And then they move to chemistry. Right, because the elements of the periodic table are the same everywhere.
Exactly. The atomic weight of hydrogen is identical everywhere in the universe.
Yeah.
It has 1 proton and 1 electron.
So if you can show that,
Right. If you can physically represent hydrogen by showing a model of it or emitting a specific frequency of radiation associated with it, you have established a baseline vocabulary.
hydrogen is element 1.
Helium is element 2. Carbon is 6. Suddenly, you aren't just tapping numbers, you are discussing the physical building blocks of the universe. These become the bricks and mortar of their communication.
It's incredible. They use the fundamental laws of reality to build a bridge across the void.
Yeah.
And at the end of that bridge, waiting on the other side, is the alien.
Yes.
And through this grueling process of learning numbers and then chemistry, and then eventually constructing a translation software to decipher the alien's musical chord-based language, Grace gives this alien a name. A simple, unforgettable name that anyone who has explored this story instantly recognizes.
Rocky.
Rocky. He names him that because the alien's exterior carapace looks like sedimentary rock to protect him from the extreme heat and pressure of his home world.
Which is so funny, it's so literal. It is. It's a name that immediately strips away the terrifying otherness of an extraterrestrial and grounds the character in an immediate, almost endearing familiarity.
It sounds like a guy you'd get a beer with, not a terrifying space monster.
Precisely. It signals the beginning of what is arguably one of the most remarkable and deeply moving friendships in modern science fiction.
Okay, we need to take a step back and look at the incredible emotional arc we just went through in this deep dive. I want you to really think about where we started.
The absolute darkness.
Yeah, the claustrophobic, suffocating horror of waking up in a sterile room, completely stripped of your memory, trapped in a metal box next to your dead crewmates. Just the absolute crushing abyss of isolation and panic.
And from that nadir of human experience, from that absolute darkness and despair, we arc toward this awe-inspiring realization.
That we aren't alone.
The realization that humanity is not alone in the universe. And more profoundly, that our cosmic neighbors are not conquerors or gods or monsters, but beings just as desperate, just as brilliant, and just as vulnerable as we are.
It is a massive testament to the sheer power of resilience, both human resilience and alien resilience. When all seems utterly lost, when your sun is dying, your friends are dead, and you are floating 12 light years from home, curiosity and the scientific method become actual, literal survival tools.
They are the only things that keep the darkness at bay.
Truly.
The scientific method isn't just a way to understand the universe in this context. It is a way to stay sane within it. It is the life raft that allows Grace to process his trauma and keep moving forward.
Which leaves you, the listener, with the question I want you to really mull over. I want you to carry this thought with you long after we sign off today. Connect it back to your own life.
It's a big question.
If you woke up light years from home, knowing your world was dying and your memory was shattered, what would anchor your sanity? Would the cold, hard, unfeeling logic of mathematics and science be enough to keep you going?
Or is it something else?
Or is the simple presence of a fellow stranded soul, even an alien one, even a creature you cannot physically comprehend or touch, is that shared presence the only thing that actually makes the darkness bearable? Think about what truly keeps us human, even when we are as far from humanity as one can possibly be.
It is a profound question about the nature of connection, because ultimately the bridge they build isn't just made of math and atomic weights. It's made of a shared desire to survive and to not be alone.
Thank you so much for joining us on this incredibly intense journey today. We've gone from the brink of extinction to the dawn of the greatest and most unusual first contact in history.
It's been a ride.
And let me tell you, the story of how a human and an alien named Rocky build a language entirely from scratch, and how they combine their radically different scientific knowledge to try and cure the Astrophage plague, well, it will completely change how you view communication and friendship forever.
It really will.
But that is a deep dive for another time. Stay curious, keep looking at the stars, and remember, you are never truly alone in the dark.